Right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming back, and appreciate. Today, I'm just gonna share a few thoughts of what I've learned, and can we sort of have a quick look? Basically, is what we call the goose, and then also the golden eggs. So we have three golden eggs. Okay. So if you have the chance to buy either the 3X or the Goose, which one would you buy?
I'll go for the goose.
Of course, I'll buy the Goose because the Goose rationally can give you more eggs because they can lay more eggs. If it's been presented to you this way, I think majority of people will bear with me that they will go for the Goose. However, we all have the opportunity, and what is actually happening is a lot of people we are exclusively spending our time on the eggs. And example, the eggs can be your house, it can be your expensive, holidays, okay, and it can be anything that you want to put it down here because you spending majority of your time to acquire that sort of activities or maybe properties. That brings me another question: how can we get the goose and also the eggs together? And that is a critically important. I think that's the fundamental of this presentation that I want us to sort of share ideas today. Majority, if you bear with me, we all have some sort of job that we do every day. Okay, so you go to work, they give you money, and then you use the money to do whatever you want. The cliche or the difficulties that we all come across is if you have income, all right, and then what happened? You've got expenses, and I believe everybody got the expenses. So your income goes to your expenses. What are the expenses? It can be a mortgage, it can be clothes, it can be food, it can be student loan, or maybe your car loans. Okay, so that's your expenses here. What happened, or what I want us to sort of maybe be aware is they say the rich people they invest their money, and then usually the poor people spend their money. Let me reframe it a bit. You can sort of get the picture. Rich people invest their money, and what is left they spend. However, the poor people spend their money, and what is left they invest. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is if we can sort of share or maybe have a little bit of our money be into a property or maybe save it or maybe buy some asset in the long term, it might be beneficial to you. And what I'm trying to say is in every month put in 1 to maybe 5 or maybe 10%. And what I always advise people, have 10%, pay yourself first. Okay, and that is a rule I always think is fair to say that you can implement. Meaning, if you got any salary coming to you every month, you pay yourself first, and automatically with the time, it will get easier for you to sort of adjust to the same sort of plan. And we're looking into 10 years. Okay, so if you persistently put in 1 to 5 or 1 to 10% every month for 5 years, we're talking about financial, stability. Your time for you to retire would be God knows how long. UK here, we're talking about 65, maybe 70. So if you pay yourself the 5-10 years now with 10%, you probably might have not too much, but it might be a little bit safe for you. What is the difficulties now here? We are in a situation whereby our expenses, quickly grab another pen. we call it a financial, statement. So that's your financial statement here. You've got again income, and then you've got your expenses. Okay, that's your income here. And then if you go down here, that is where that take money away from your pocket, and that is asset column here that put money in your pocket. What is liability? And it's a word that a lot of people not aware. Simply put, is money, or sorry, is anything that take money away from your pocket. So meaning all the expenses from here that take money from your pocket. That can be your mortgage, your clothes, your food, your student loan, or maybe any car loan that you've got. And this is where I want you to shift your mindset a little bit. We're talking about asset. Asset meaning that put money into your pocket. Simple as ABC, but it's not that simple. Now, if you have the 10% that we talked about, you invested in here. So that can be a shares that you buy. That can be your royals that you can, acquire. You can be a rare estate also. And what I always say, potentially, you can also be in a Bitcoin. Okay. So Bitcoin has been existing for about a decade now. It has grown 2 million percent. 2 million percent. So if you have a good time that you invested in, you're pretty in the good money for now. But take from me, I'm not a financial advisor. I am just sharing information. And if you want any financial advice, I would recommend or maybe advise seek a financial professional advisor that can sort of give you concrete answers. Now, if we come back to the Goose, which a lot of people say they would buy. Now, my mindset shift, or maybe what I would need you to take from this presentation is you have already put in 10% or maybe 5% of 5 years. So you are clinically or maybe technically putting money in yourself. And that can be a skill that you can learn. God forbid, if there's unthinkable happen and then you cannot go to work, what do? Do you sit down waiting for somebody to come? And that's one of the things that majority of our own people we've not planned. And there's a quote saying that if you fail to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Pretty much because you have not sit down and calculate the next 5 years, 10 years, what is going to happen to your life. And there's a quote by Warren Buffett saying that if you haven't got money working for you while you are asleep, you will work for money until the day you die. And that is a lot of cases where it's happening to our community. Simply because we come to Europe, we think we can sacrifice our life for money. And pretty much what I've learned, what I've seen, you cannot beat the system. However, if you work in and then you get paid for, let's say, £10 or an hour, they give you money. What is money? Money is you sacrificing your time, sacrificing your energy, and then they pay you into a currency, which we can say fiat currency, meaning you can have £10 if you work for me for 4 hours, or maybe £2, or maybe 5 hours. The cliche or the difficulties is inflation, and some people we don't even understand what is inflation. As we speak now in UK here, today is the 18th of April 2022. UK inflation sits at 6.2, meaning if you have if you have £1,000 in your account, you lose 6.2% for the purchasing power. How much does the bank give you? If that 1,000 sits in the bank, they give you not more than 1%. Okay? So do the calculation. You got 1% annually, and then you lose 6.2. As we speak, in US, it's about 8.5, which is about 9%. If you do the calculation, then you just have to think, meaning you have to work twice in 2 years to get potentially the same money because you're losing the purchasing power. And that is where I want you to shift your mind a little bit, because if you try to work for money, you would suffer at the end, simply because There's the debasement, which potential people don't understand the word debasement, meaning they keep on printing the money and then they lose its value. What I want you to take from this small presentation is invest in yourself, put in 1 to 5%, 10% in you, and what happened because you are the controller here, and now you've got assets increasing or appreciating in price. What happened to your expenses? Because this is increasing, this also here would reduce because you can use some of the profit here to pay for these expenses here. And then technically, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you might have to work less, but you have accumulated a lot of asset, and that will pay for your sort of expenses. Example would be in UK here, a lot of people, they buy houses too, and then they rent the second one. People will pay for it. In 5 years, they'll still remortgage it, and then you realize within the 10, 15 years, they've got like 10 houses, and then the first one that initially bought is been, free. The people are paying them to sit in that property. Why they don't pay any money? Of course, do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor, but all that I want you to do is to be in a position that you're retired, and then you can say, I have financial statement, I have something that I can rely on. I do not rely on people, because the time you rely, you go to your pension, if you have not prepared, then you live your life by hope, and hope is not a process. By the time you get to that point, you might be maybe thinking about family member. They also got their own issues. They might not be able to help you. So from our community, from anybody who is watching this video, I want you to sort of take it a time. Maybe it might be more beneficial to you if you invested 5 to 10% for consistency of 5-10 years. Again, back to the asset, the price will appreciate. This one should go down, and then you have a freedom, and then of course you don't work too much at your retiring age, and then you can enjoy life. And this is pretty much is my presentation, the goose and the golden eggs, and then the cash flow that you really, really have to understand. If not, believe me or not, I'm not a financial advisor again, but it is something that has been ongoing for generations, and we need to change it, because you don't need to be in Europe here and work and work and work and work. Everybody knows that there's nothing absolutely here, but you have to use your mind. Other than that, it's quite challenging to sort of get your head around. But I hope you find this small presentation beneficial or maybe useful, and I thank you for your time. Please share this video, come back to us. Any question, give us a thumb up, and I appreciate your time, and thank you again. One more, thank you.
And